Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and to a new session of our online interview edition. We want to get an update from Hannan Metals, and Michael Hudson, the CEO, is here with us. Good morning to Australia. How are you?
Good evening from Australia, Jochen. Lovely
Yeah,
to see you.
yeah, great to see you too. Yeah, Hannan Metals. I'm a shareholder of the company. I want to disclose that upfront. And I must say, you guys had now within 1 week, I would say, two very important news. But let's get started probably with the most important one, that you have received the permits to start your drilling. That is outstanding because I think it was much faster than anticipated, right?
Peru's slower
No?
than
Yeah.
generally hoped,
Okay.
but there are green shoots in Peru, and they are
Hmm.
starting to permit things now. And the government is aware that they are uncompetitive in a global space, and we've been having very close dialogue with the government, basically telling them that dollars in exploration are fungible and they can go anywhere. And anyhow, we've received our permit, and we have one of the largest copper new districts that has been discovered. Two of them actually. With one, the sediment hosted copper over 120 kilometres, and that is the area that has been permitted. A 20-kilometre subsection of that. That's in joint venture with the Japanese government, and then we've
Hmm.
got a porphyry project over about 50 kilometres where we've got 18 porphyries, which we can talk about in a minute. So
Hmm.
yeah, the permit was it's called a DIA, a Declaration Impacto Ambiental, which means basically an EIA, an environmental impact assessment. And we did a lot of work. You've got to do a lot of work in Peru to get this through, and that's all the normal environmental, hydro, air. Dust impacts and all those kind of things. It's quite the thorough exercise for drilling, which is a low impact activity, of course. And then you've got to
Hmm.
get the population on side and get the population sign off, and you have a public participation meeting. It's taken close to 2 years since we submitted it. So Peru has got to get its act together still, and they're telling us that they will, and they have. They came out just in the last few days, the Minister for Resources, and saying that they're working again and again to try and fix the bureaucracy. Essentially, that's it. Anyhow, now we have
Hmm.
our permit. There's a few stages to go. Just we need to get a permit to initiate activities and a water permit, which is a couple of months. They're 30 and 40 days each, and they can't be done together. But once we get the initiate activities, we can start constructing drill permits. So I see us drilling in the next 2 to 3 months. There's 40 different platforms. We'll put in
Hmm.
a staggered amount of drilling, about 5,000 meters
Hmm.
initially, just to see the system. This is the first time we've seen it in 3 dimensions, seen the fresh mineralization. So it's in the high
Hmm.
jungle, so the metals leach through weathering. So that means what you're assaying at surface is not reflective of what's necessarily below that weathered profile, and should be higher
Hmm.
grade than what we see at surface, because it will be depleted at surface. So let's see what we get, but it's a very exciting first step to unlocking the opportunity in this back arc, and we want permit after permit after permit over the next years as we're drilling all these different uh, per, we're drilling all these huge copper targets that
Hmm.
the Japanese government are backing us in this case, and also Canada's largest company, mining company Teck, are also backing us as a 10% holder, or 9.9.
Hmm. Okay, so you said 5,000 meters would be like the first step. To what depths do you think you are drilling?
Everywhere from shallow to
Hmm.
quite deep, because we'll get below that oxide profile, but we can drill 100-meter holes, and then the deepest, because you've got to go back up on hills and drill down, can
Hmm.
be up to 5 or 600 meters. So we're looking for a pancake that's quite flat, but the topography
Hmm.
does this. So when we drill it here, it'll be shallow, and when we
Yeah.
drill it from up here, it will be deeper.
Hmm. Okay, how costly is that there? Because you said it's jungle. So do you have to move by helicopter or are those portable drill rigs? How does that work?
Yeah, so a couple of things. We have got a helicopter in the permit, so we wanted to have
Hmm.
that flexibility. But you get into helicopters and it becomes quite expensive. as you could imagine. We're going to try and avoid helicopters first up. We're using hand portable rigs, so they break the rigs
Hmm.
down to sort of 100 kilo pieces, and because there's a lot of very good, tough people who work and live in that area, they'll carry these pieces in and
Uh-huh.
carry things out. And then there's roads and bush roads that we can get to. So it's going
Hmm.
to the man portable rigs are great, and great technology in drilling over the last 10 or 20 years, I
Hmm.
suppose, because they're lower footprint. They're smaller by nature, right? And so we have a lower footprint. So we're going to do that. The exact cost is, I don't have it on the top of my head. I think we're budgeting somewhere between $300 and $400 a meter. So it's sort of mid-range drilling. It's not top of the range. You can be in the middle of somewhere where you've got a helicopter things in anywhere in the world, and you can get $800 to $1,000 a meter. So we're not near that, and the cheapest
Hmm.
drilling's probably done for $150 a meter or something. So we're sort of
Hmm.
mid range. So and remembering it's not costing shareholders anything here. We want to watch our dollars and always do, and because you get more
Hmm.
drilling for your budget. But it's that fully funded by JOGMEC, the Japanese government arm that is in joint venture with us.
Hmm. Super. When you said that's fully funded, we have discussed it several times. Um, do they have like a minimum maximum for the year what they spend, or could it be that they say, hey, you know what, we are so well underway, let's drill $10 million?
Yeah. So no, it's a government entity. So there's very strict protocols around budgets. So we set the Japanese budget year starts from the 1st of April to the end of March, and so we've got 1.6 million US. There's certainly enough to do that drilling in the budget. It was
Hmm.
budgeted for this year, but we're going to slip into the second year budget, of course, because we're coming to the end of the. So they're very supportive. They've been at
Hmm.
site. They're still at site today. They visited from Japan over the last week or so. So we'll get the appropriate budget to drill it, and let's hope we have that question where we have to go and put $10 million into it. But it's a very rigorous process dealing with the Japanese government, and we've been doing it for a
Hmm.
number of years now, so we understand it and work within their bounds.
Okay, super. So last year on 16th November, you reported that you defined a third porphyry at Valiente, which is obviously the project, of course, we are talking about, where you have now the Declaración de Impacto Ambiental. So what would be the strategy? Because porphyries tend to be very big, yeah. And when you have a third one, where do you have to focus? Where do you see the best chances or best opportunities for a fast success?
Okay, so just for clarity, the DIA that we just got approved was for San Martin with the JOGMEC
Oh,
joint venture.
sorry, that was my fault.
That's
Yeah.
okay. The names are always confusing. Valiente is a 100% owned project that's owned 100% by Hannan, not in joint venture. And that's what, and you may have just got confused because we just applied for the DIA for that area.
Yeah.
So we've had lots of permitting news. At the end of January, we had the DIA permit for San Martin, and we've made the application for Valiente. Now, with Peru starting to get its mojo together and starting to behave more like a normal jurisdiction rather than having to wait years, we
Uh-huh.
hope that we'll be drilling next year at Valiente. We're very, very excited about Valiente. We've got actually 17 porphyries, 3 that we've mapped in detail, and then we've got skarns around them and epithermal systems over kilometers, gold systems around those. So how do we target the porphyries? Is your question, which is still
Mhm.
very much a relevant one. You target your best systems on the data as you understand it from surface. So we have all the geochemistry, we've got the mapping, and we've got the geophysics. So we're looking for sulfide, and the geophysics gives us that accumulation of sulfide, the IP geophysics. So you put all those layers together, and then you start dissecting the porphyry, and they're very well understood these days, porphyries, and I'm actually a good explorationist, but there's much better porphyry geologists than me, and who can see exactly where they are and looking for the high grade cores, the breccia pipes in, or the
Mm,
supergene blankets, and you start to dissect it. So there's a very good playbook for porphyries that is well understood. So you test your best surface targets and drill, and then work it out from there.
okay, super. So other question, what is cash in the bank? So meaning how well are you set up for all those adventures?
Yeah, so we got $2 million in the bank.
Mhm,
We've got the money for this year to keep the Valiente project going, because that's our only cost, and the company
mhm,
overhead in Canada. The San Martin project and all the drilling not costing us a cent. So we're not raising money to drill San Martin. We've got the joint venture partner. JOGMEC have to spend $10 million before they become a partner in the project. So we own it
mm,
100%. They go to 51% after they've spent 10 million. And they're about halfway there at the moment. So
mhm,
there's still many, many, many millions of dollars for JOGMEC to spend on that project.
mhm,
When we get the permits to drill the Valiente project, which is all those porphyries, then of course we'll look to raise more. But we're in a very good place. Great. Remember, we've got Tech, as I mentioned, 9.9%
mhm,
holder. They're there for the porphyries. They're very excited about the opportunity there. Yeah, keep your eyes out. The plan is here to get those permits each year, basically. So we've got one now,
mhm,
and we've applied another one. Next year we'll have, and
mhm,
etc. And we'll have a chain of permissions and a chain of drill programs, and any one
mhm,
of those projects that we drill could be an absolute game changer. You see just single porphyry
mhm,
companies in the Andes who go to plus $1 billion on the back of a discovery. Well, we've got 18 chances in Valiente, and and equally this sediment hosted system. Keep your eye on that, because we're loving what we're
mhm,
seeing, not necessarily just in the drill area, but in other areas. So that's a
mhm.
little bit of a warm up to where it's going.
Okay, as you said, 18 chances to make a jackpot, I would call it. Um, would it be then also maybe the plan to bring in addition a joint venture partner? Let's say Tech says, "Hey, guys, that looks that fantastic. We have already those 9.9%, but let's do something more." Or could you also imagine that you get a third partner?
Yes, that is.
Aha.
It's a very good question, because 18 porphyries will take us a long time and a lot of
Mhm,
capital, and we've got to get our cost of capital down. We're a minnow at the
mhm,
moment, so we're not going to drill lots of porphyries, and so we've got to get that share price up as we gain the permits. Right? Basically, it's been
mhm,
a bit of a hold and wait exercise for Hannan, and
mhm,
now we're out of that stage, and now we're starting to drill and move to what has been the plan over the last 2 years. So I would say there's a chance, of course, that we'll keep literally the best drillable targets for us, but there's so much other uh, areas that we're exploring that we'll never have a chance to get to for the next 5 to 10 years. So to
mhm,
bring it along, I think bringing joint venture partners in is a strategy. But having these permits start in the backyard. This is the first permit in this area. Nobody's looked in these areas before, and
mhm.
there's some skeptics when we went in there who said you'll never get it permitted, you'll never be able to do anything.
Uh,
Well,
uh,
you take your job very seriously. You bring the local
mhm,
people along, and actually that time frame has given us a chance to be very credible and bring the local people in all the areas we're exploring along with us, so they become quite a resilient community who say, and there's never a zero opposition to any project. And when the opposition has come, they've gone, no, we want this project, we want it. These are good actors. They do
mhm,
what they say they're going to do, and we want the jobs, and and that's where we've got to. So that's where essentially why this project's been permitted,
mhm,
yeah, it's opened up the whole region for us and others now, right? To
mhm,
because we've got the first mover advantage, but these are vast new copper belts,
Hmm.
and in one of the elephant parts of the world. So
Hmm.
it's actually more fundamental than it may seem by itself that we've just got a drill permit.
Hmm. I really see it the same way, because when we think about the comment of Robert Friedland last week, where he said, guys, we are going into huge trouble with copper in the future. So I think you hold the future in your hands.
Absolutely, and 20 in the next. I sat and presented next to Mr. Friedland a week ago or so in New York, and I remember his slide. 22 years, we're going to in the next 22 years consume more copper than we have for the whole history of Earth, and the
Hmm.
same mines that were the top 10 mines 10 years
Hmm.
ago are the same top 10 mines, but their grade has dropped dramatically. So we need big new discoveries, which we haven't been making.
Yeah.
Hannan has a basket full of them, literally.
Yeah,
They're
definitely.
mm,
Yeah, definitely. No, that's why I said with 18 porphyries, that could be within the next 10 years, maybe a little bit more. That could be, like, let's say, two, three large mines, if you are successful, of course.
yeah, exactly. All caveats
Yeah,
around
yeah,
exploration success, but no, and we're doing
yeah.
something that is pretty different, right? Exploring for
Mm,
elephants in elephant country where
mhm.
nobody's looked before.
Yeah, makes sense. Super, Michael. Thank you very much for the update. That looks great. I know why I'm a shareholder, and yeah, we wish you best, and see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jochen.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Michael Hudson, the CEO of Hannan Metals. This is the future of copper: 18 huge porphyries, plus the JOGMEC joint venture. Don't forget that also. And I think, well, Peru, as Michael said, is opening up again. Really, it looks much, much better now, also country wise. But the company is really active, received for the joint venture also the first drill permit, the big one for 40 platforms. That is great. And also moving forward with drill permits for every year now for their own Valiente project. So this is exactly what we need for the future. Lots of exploration, and for big, big, big mines in the future, because we need so much copper. It's unbelievable. Check out the company. Thanks for watching us, and bye bye from Switzerland.